Hello and welcome to the 4Corners podcast. I'm Brad, joined as always by Matt and Shad. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing all right. One foot in front of the other, all that good stuff, right?
Yep. So, this was it Saturday night or was it Sunday that it came out that Sabu had passed away? Sabu.
I think it was Sunday that came out.
Yes.
This is the night after the WWE PLE. But I believe that it was Sunday. Sabu, aka Terry Brunk, had passed away at the age of 60.
It was weird timing because he had just had his retirement match at spring break.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what, 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago now?
3. It was 3 weeks before he passed, yeah.
I was real messed up on my time because Backlash came really close on WrestleMania, which felt weird.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think we should probably talk about the retirement in time, but because there was controversy,
Yeah.
like yesterday about it. I'm here, by the way. Like I'm coming off bronchitis, so like I had like a massive like coughing attack right before we came live. But
I don't know how I feel about the controversy from yesterday because there's a lot of like wrinkles and facets to that because like at the end of the day Sabu was like an adult and he could make his own decisions, but the problem is like there is definitely a pattern of behavior with GCW that is a problem that makes you kind of go, oh, they don't have they really don't have a lot of scruples.
Boys, they done went and did it again.
Yeah.
yeah, they don't exercise the best judgment.
No,
Um,
they do not. But I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if he showed up and said he could do it. Like I get that, but you know, I'm always like one of those. Maybe you should just say, "Hey, whoa, chill out." Like maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe how about you don't?
Yeah, for those, I guess we can just talk about it. For those who don't know, like Sabu's last match was I think it was at Joey Janela's Spring Break,
Yeah,
the
it
one
was.
at Mania weekend.
Yeah, with Janela.
And it was not a well-received match. He showed up not really in shape. I mean, he's like 60, but
Yeah,
he didn't exactly show up in like.
He had problem with his feet or something like.
And he took some bumps that it's like.
No, he fell on it. He
shouldn't be taking.
He did a dive to the outside, and I think he fell like right on his head.
Yeah,
if I'm remembering the clip properly.
And it's like, you probably shouldn't be doing this. Okay, it's your last match, it's retirement match, but.
Yeah, because like I get like AEW used him a couple years ago, but he really didn't take bumps or anything. He just kind of did some chair stuff with like Jericho.
Yeah. But yeah, they had that, and then so Phil Schneider, yes, of the DVD VR fame.
He's
Schneider Comps.
Sakuna Keita too, I believe, is also his deal.
Oh, okay. He was doing an article that he'd been working on before Sabu died, but then he published it like this yesterday or maybe Sunday, but I think it was yesterday, and he includes like some quotes because he had interviewed Joey Janela and I think even Brett Lauderdale, owner of GCW. But it gained a lot of controversy because in it Janela was like, oh, like people couldn't like Sabu was gonna no show because apparently Sabu was
his feet were messed
not
up.
in a good. His feet were messed up, but it also kind of implied like he wasn't in a good way, perhaps inebriated or I don't know.
Let's be honest here. At the best of times, you don't know if he's going to show up for a booking because he might have booked something else.
Yeah. But he was going to no-show his retirement match. And Joey Janela, I guess, was freaking out. Brett Lauderdale in the article was like, "Oh, I had no worries. Like, I knew he's going to show up." And it's like, okay, whatever. But
yeah, you can't believe anything.
Essentially, what they did, what GCW did, no, like lied, says, "Oh no, I wasn't charged like overtime by the unions for the Hammerstein Ballroom show that ran until like 3 in the morning or some stupid shit like that."
You know
It's
what my
like,
favorite
yeah,
part
okay,
about
okay, Brett, yeah, the unions cut you a break, like sure.
You know what my
Yeah.
favorite part of that interview though is, because it's so appropriate that it happened, is the low key way like Matt Tremont got thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
Cause like, oh, we had Matt Tremont as a stand-in and people were gonna be pissed. I'm like, yeah, I would have been pissed
Oh
too.
yeah.
They were.
Yeah.
They were.
They would have been. I would have been, and I didn't even care. But, I guess their solution to it was like, Sabu potentially like not into shape to like go out there, but also there's something like his feet were bleeding, like his feet were like messed up.
Yeah.
So somebody, maybe it was Janela, I don't know who, but it's like, we'll get him Kratom. I don't know how to pronounce it. I've never used it. I've never been like.
Don't know.
It's like the legal weed essentially.
Oh, okay.
The thing
and
I
you
have
can
been
get it-
told about that
Mhm.
kratom or whatever is that stuff can mess you way the hell up.
Well,
Um,
it's legal, and the reason why it's legal is because even though it hasn't been like approved by the FDA, FDA weirdly hasn't basically. They're like, oh, we don't recommend using it, but they haven't like cracked down on it, like they haven't banned it. Like it's just it exists, and you can buy it at any like smoke shop. Like you can probably buy it elsewhere. Some people I've heard it called colloquially as like gas station perks.
yeah.
Like you can buy it at a gas station. I don't know. I've never bought it. And not really like a drug guy. Never been. I like drinking. I smoked cigarettes back in the day, but like drugs wasn't really like my thing. But it is legal. It's apparently though. It's like it's from someone I read. It is kind of like a painkiller. It's not quite like an opioid. It can be used to help people who are struggling with opioid addiction, but it's not a controlled substance like methadone, or some of the other drugs that people use to kind of wean off opioids or prevent going.
I'm looking this up right now.
Yeah,
'Cause
but
I want to.
it can act as like a painkiller, but it also is kind of almost like an opioid itself, or at least has those qualities. So people are like, well, just give him some of this, and I guess they did. And he went out there and performed. And then some people obviously were taking the high road. People on Twitter and everything who don't take the high road are trying to be like, oh, like it's basically almost implying like Joey Janela and Brett Lauderdale GCW killed Sabu, and it's like,
He's an adult.
okay, like, well, even beyond that, it's like, are you aware of Sabu?
Yeah.
Sabu isn't even like, he wasn't even on the level of like Scott Hall or Jake Roberts or something. It's like, it's known these guys were drug fiends. But Sabu has done some shit in his day, partly because he had a crazy life. So he injured himself all sorts of ways. I'm sure he lived in constant chronic pain from all the shit he did.
Yeah.
Even a normal wrestler like is just beat the shit up by the time they're 60.
And let's be honest here. Let's be real honest. Okay, if we take the totality of Sabu's career, I am willing to say that a good 75% of his matches he was fucked up on something for. I feel safe in saying that.
Those ECW shows in the late 90s, it's like you're probably hard pressed to find a guy who isn't on something during their matches.
And
like,
I'm loath to defend Brett Lauderdale, but with the Joey Janela thing, like you're just trying to get through. Like I'm not trying to like say it was ethical or anything, but you're just trying to get through your show and your match. Like I would imagine if both of those guys had said, "Hey, he's gonna end up dead in 3 weeks," they'd be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!" Like we're not doing that then. Like you don't have this idea that I'm not saying he died because of the show, but I'm saying like they're just trying to get through their show. Like they probably figured like we'll just get through this, like get him some whatever that is, and we'll get through it. There's no thought of like, oh, this could kill him because it's Sabu. Like Sabu's done tons of dumb stuff and survived. Like,
well, And it's even, I guess, again, I never used it, but it's essentially more legal than weed is in many places.
It's more ethical probably than just like, hey, get him a bunch of oxys and like stuffed in his face and get him out there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
according
weed
to the
is
National Institute of Health, by the way, it commonly refers to an herbal substance that can produce opioid and stimulant-like effects. I don't know of anything that provides both of those kinds of effects to a great outcome. Like I'm
No.
not familiar with anything that does that
Yeah.
too, that's going to have a
Again,
happy ending.
This is legal, but I also saw someone else describe it as like this is like basically taking it because allegedly it was given to him to give him a little pep to go out there and have a match. I saw someone colloquially say it's like, oh, it's like doing an Oxycontin and 3 cups of coffee. Like it's so in your wire get you stimulated. But again, do I think did that contribute to his death? It's like
No.
What's the line? I haven't seen this series, but there's a line that the Walt Goggins character from the Fallout series, I think on Amazon.
Oh, that's one very small drop in a very large bucket of drugs.
Large bucket of drugs. It's like that's not the thing that wasn't the tipping point. That wasn't like Sabu was right on the edge, and it's like Joey Janela gave him some kratom to smoke or whatever.
Yeah, Vectron says
a pill, and he's like, oh,
Vectron
that
says
didn't happen.
It's gas station H in the sense that the enhancement products are gas station Viagra.
Yeah.
So it's horny goat weed.
Yeah. But is it? I guess the premise is like, is it a good idea to be giving a wrestler like some sort of mind-altering substance and then having him go out there and have a match? Like, well, no, because I mean, you're a wrestler, Shad. It's like you put your body, you trust your body to the other person, and vice versa.
Yep.
So we've seen it's infamous at this point for someone like Jeff Hardy, like the infamous match he had with Sting. It's like you have no business going out there, and it's like, you just end this early because I'm not doing spots with that guy.
No,
like I'm not doing jack shit where I have to trust like he's supposed to catch me or do something. I don't even take a punch from him because he could swing wildly and then boom, he like hits me the wrong way.
Yeah.
He could fracture an eye socket.
Yep.
Like mess up something, and it's like I'm on the shelf for like a while. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, right in the eye, and then I'm done for a while.
Yeah, like it's. I don't want to do it. Like you don't want to. So is it a good idea? Like it's not a good idea.
Let's use a
kill Sabu. Like I highly doubt that.
Let's use a
Sabu lived a hard life. Much harder than us.
Let's use like a comparison of something like. He's dead, obviously, but let's use a slight comparison that would not be like in the ring. Let's say we had a studio show and Iron Sheik was coming in and he's like, "Well, I want a 6-pack of beer." We're like, oh, "Okay, that what do you want?" Like, "Oh, you want the 6-pack of Coors?" Okay. And then he dies like a month later, and people are like, "Well, you killed him because you gave him beer." It's like, you really think the 6 beers we gave him was like the tipping point of the mountains of beers he drank in his life?
I mean, God rest his soul, Shiki probably did a 6-pack before lunch. Like,
yeah,
I could see that being the case.
I can see this whole thing. That's a phrase I'm looking for here. I can see this match just being the tipping point that his body couldn't take anymore. Sure,
that's still his fault, though.
Is it ethical to give him this stuff so that he can go out and have this match? No. But this is also a really, of all the circumstances you were going to have, expecting to kill Sabu with something you bought at the over the counter, I should say, at the gas station, not bought at the gas station, because that could open it up to a bunch of stuff. Just man, that'd be some long odds, but
here's the thing, though.
It still sucks that it happened, and the bump he took to the outside really sucked.
But here's the thing. Like,
Um,
let me throw it at you like this, Chat, because you would know more. Let's put yourself in Joey Janela's boots, like as a worker.
hmm
So let's say you're in this position with Sabu.
Yep.
Sabu, or whoever you're working with is like that level of someone. Like, are you gonna necessarily question them at any like point in that? They say they can go, or if they like, hey, let's do this spot, and you're kind of like, I don't know. It's like, no, I can do it. Like, okay. Like, is there a
I'd
point
really
where,
rather not, but
but like, is there a point where you're just gonna say like, well, like he's fucking Sabu. He knows, like, he obviously
there's
doesn't
going to
know
be
what
a
he's
point.
doing, but he hasn't died
There's
yet.
going to be a point where if I'm going to be having a match and they're like, he's too messed up to go, then I'll say, then we need to do something else, because my thing was always going to be, if it was questionable about if he was safe to go, I don't want to go. I want to do something else, because frankly, that level of trust is damaged as far as I'm concerned. Now, Joey Janela has taken a lot more risks than I have, and Joey Janela's done a lot more than I have. So that's up to him. But then the other side too is like
And he had a lot
there's
more,
a lot of pressure on him,
and a lot more money on the line for his pocketbook.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, there's a lot of pressure because this is supposed to be Sabu's retirement match, and what are we going to do if Sabu no shows his own retirement match and that sort of stuff? It's like, I don't like this, but I can see how they got there.
Because I'm
I
saying,
guess
like,
is what I'm trying to say.
I guess I'm saying personally, if I was a worker and like you're paying me $40, there's gonna be a lot of no's. But if it turns into like $3,000, those no's are probably gonna start turning into, well, okay.
Like, are you sure, dude?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be how it is.
But so we picked a selection of matches to remember him, because I think it's a very watered down word, but I think the term legend does apply to Sabu.
I believe that it does, and my rationale on it is that Sabu was. I'm trying to remember my exact terminology because I want to say it right. Sabu was one of the biggest guys in a promotion that was kind of the catalyst for a big change that went through the whole North American wrestling industry, or I
Mhm.
should say the American, because I don't know if it did in Lucha, but through the American wrestling business. And a lot of that came off of stuff. Sabu was a big part of a lot of that. And for better or for worse, okay, there were not successful people who did what Sandman or what Sabu did. So it's
Mm,
it's
he did influence like Terry Funk and Mick Foley though, and they are both successful. Like
well, that's not what I mean. What I mean is people that tried to do the kind of stuff Sabu did.
oh well, and I think watching these matches, I really understood why they didn't emulate him correctly. Because the thing I realized about Sabu and this stuff, and I think as he got older, he could rely on like he's kind of like the band doing just the hits, but like in his
Yeah.
early days when he was his most influential, like he was a wrestler that did crazy
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And the thing is,
Mm-hmm.
like when you watch this stuff with him, minus the barbed wire match, even though some of it's still there, is like he's doing this crazy deathmatchy stuff, but it's built on the foundation of he is a wrestler through
Yes.
and through. And where I think these deathmatch guys have never emulated it correctly is because a lot of times they're doing deathmatch stuff because they suck. They don't have the foundation of being a wrestler. Like we've watched some of these matches, and he's doing like mat work, and he's like using psychology, and there's like,
Yeah.
and he's super safe. Like that's the one thing I came away from watching. This like, wow, like Sabu really is more of a danger to himself than his opponent, because he did a pile driver at one point on the floor to someone, and he did like what I would assume is like the most safe version of a pile driver. Like he did the one where you kind of pick him up and you just fall back on your butt.
Like the stump puller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the old like Harley race, like
The
thing
one
where you just
Foley
like
did,
fall back.
yeah, and the one Foley did a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I agree with you. Like if you actually in these matches that we watched, actually you could really tell. He actually was trained and was, I would argue, he was actually a good worker. It's just that obviously as well, especially as ECW took off, um, and he got on with his career, like it's almost like the weird version where it's like Hogan didn't do like a lot of stuff when
Yeah.
Hogan was, and because he didn't need to.
Yeah.
Um, Sabu didn't have to bust out a lot of like his actual wrestling ability because it's like that's not what people came for in like the late
No.
'90s ECW. They just want to see you like put people through tables and do face busters on chairs and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
he actually could wrestle. You got to see some of this with these. I agree with you, and I want to get into it like more maybe towards the end when we talked about his career and we reviewed the matches. But I would agree with you. Like he would qualify in my opinion as a legend. And that does get kind of the term has gotten flanderized. It's gotten
Yeah.
kind of overused, but it does still apply for certain people, and I think it absolutely did apply to him. Like he was at he was one of those people that it's like you're hitting at the right time to cause with some other people, not just him, but
No. No.
to cause kind of a cultural shift in wrestling. And he was a big part of that. Like ECW, obviously, what's the biggest thing he's most famous for? But I said before, I don't even like ECW that much, and I don't think it holds up that well. But there are a few guys that I would say like you were ECW, and there are a lot of guys that became famous for it and were popular with it. And not trying to like give them a short thrift, but to me, people like Dreamer and Raven and Sabu, RVD,
Public Enemy, like
Taz,
people don't think of, but they
New
really
Jack.
were a big part of like ECW becoming more than like becoming the super entity was built on Public Enemy being different at the time, so they're a big part of it.
Mm,
But I would agree with your
yeah.
assessment. Like he's one of those pillars, and I would say he's still a pillar of like modern wrestling, like AEW, Ring of Honor, TNA, parts of WWE. Like that all is built off of like what he did to a degree.
He is part of it. And
Mhm.
if someone wanted to make the argument that Sabu was one of the big factors in the phenomenon that everybody does a dive out of the ring now, I may not. I would probably agree with you. I'm not
And
saying
Lucha
he's
has its
the
place
only one.
there.
Yeah, I said that's why I said one of, because if you compare with the Sabu and then the WCW Cruiserweight division, everyone's like, "Oh man, that's really cool!" And it pops the crowd. I'm going to do that too, and now every damn buddy does it. So it's like, yes, I think that he's he's baked into the legacy of what we have now. Is in some ways it's very well defined, and in some ways it's just kind of in the mix. But he absolutely there, and like you were saying, Matt, the term legend getting thrown around. It seems like the term legend right now is getting thrown around for anybody that you would go, oh, I remember that guy. That's
Yeah.
not a legend.
Yeah.
But that's who's getting legend deals or going into the WWE Hall of Fame. So it's like, I'd really rather you not. But
I also think he's one of the few guys. I think Sting pulled this off too, but I think Sabu successfully retained his mystique through his whole career.
his mystique was very him.
Well, because the thing is, like, I bring it up all the time on the show, and I think people think I'm shitting on him when I say it, but like, part of his mystique was the blowing the spots, though, because that was the thing that made him so special. Is you never knew if his match was going to get derailed. and that made him special. Like, you never knew if he was gonna blow a spot and just derail the match, like trying to do it. Like, there was this match, I think it was him and Rob Van Dam at Heatwave '98, where like the table broke, like a leg on it broke.
Versus him and Rob Van Dam versus Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinzaki.
Yeah. So this table leg breaks, and he gets so hyper focused on getting this table to work that he even gets the Japanese guys looking at it too, trying to get this table to work for this spot.
We're gonna break this damn table. I don't know what it's gonna take, but we're gonna break the damn thing.
Or or like him eliminating himself from like battle royals he's supposed to win, like stuff like that. Like that's but like other guys you would it would make you hate them, but with Sabu it's like part of his charm. Like that's part of like the package.
It Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because it was part of his charm. It's like to the point where you would, if you watch a Sabu match and it's like he would do something, he'd fuck up a spot like that, you'd be like, oh wait, here we go. Like, block off the next like 2 minutes. He's gonna keep up until he breaks that table, or he gets that spot right.
Yep. It was the unpredictability of Sabu is what made the matches so engaging. You did not know what it was going to be. When he went for that triple jump dive or triple jump moonsault, and he hopped up to that top rope and he stopped and he kind of wobbled there, and you'd be like,
yeah,
which way is he going? And then if he pulls it off, you're like, all right, he did it. And if he doesn't, you're like, he's Sabu'd, you know?
He only blew one thing I saw tonight, and it was funny, but they covered it pretty well. When he went to do that sunset flip on the apron to two Cold Scorpio, and he just fell over.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was pretty funny, but they covered that pretty good, I think.
Yeah, they did a good job.
And Joey Styles is pretty smart, saying how he grabbed the ropes.
Yeah. That's one thing I give Styles a lot of credit for. Styles was very quick at justifying or rationalizing things that didn't go as planned in the ring.
But I have to say, that's the match, the two Cold Scorpio one, is where I was like, oh, no, he's pretty safe, because like he had a couple chances with the chair where he could have just gone for the headshot and he went for the back every time. And I was like, oh, like,
yeah,
he's pretty safe.
Yeah. I noticed that too, and appreciate for all of him holding a chair and jumping on somebody. When he was swinging it, he was not aiming for the fences whenever it came to your head, which is a low bar, but still.
And he would do, like, one of his spots too was like he would throw the chair right in your face, and I was thinking about that, and I'm like, that's probably not that bad to take, because you know what's coming and you get your hand up. Like, it's probably, I think I'd rather take that than just a shot to the head.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Would you want to take it? Like, no, but if you actually do think about the physics behind it, what would be a safer spot to take? Like, I'm standing like 4 feet away from you, 5 feet away from you, and I throw a chair at you, but not like a tomahawk, like
he's
this, but it like
flat.
He's like almost like shoving it.
Yeah,
like flat. So there's like, not that there's a lot of wind resistance that short of a distance, but it's like
you are.
Like it is moving.
You just go like this, and it bounces off your hand. It sounds like shit.
Well, yeah. Even if you didn't react, like I put my hands up to bat it away, which you easily could do. It's coming at you with a certain level of force, but also not as fast as like I'm just taking it and I'm with my force, the force of my hands and using my arm strength and everything to swing it right at you. And we've obviously seen guys who know how to do chair shots. They will do it in a way that it's like they signal it or they do it in ample enough time where the guy can be like, oh, and raise his hands to block it. Mm-hmm. Like they know the trick. It's not an unprotected chair shot. They're doing it right. But
yeah, because we commented
like it wasn't as
we commented on Sid with Cronus because he went to do the headshot to Cronus and Cronus didn't protect himself. And Sid needed to do another one, so Sid took the chair and turned him over so he could hit him with the back. Cause he's like, okay, I obviously can't trust you to do this responsibly, so we're doing this the safe way.
Yeah, I'm not clocking you over the head with this again.
It's funny when you watch this stuff critically, you start seeing the little things guys do.
Yeah. The only thing that I think that I saw in this stuff that he would potentially do, were clips I've seen over the last couple of days, that would be kind of like dangerous is like there's sometimes he'd like throw a table or something at a guy.
Yeah.
Like from high, and it would like land on the guy. And it's like that's also can be safe in a way because it's like if I'm throwing a table on you, I can throw it in a way, like let's say you're down on the ground, like I can throw it in a way that long table. I got a pen right here to kind of emphasize.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it, and it's like one end of the table can hit the mat first, and then the other part land on you. And it's like, oh my god, he hit him with the table, and it's like, well, most of the force is actually just dispersed, like on the end. It didn't even hit you.
Yeah.
But visually, it looks very, But I can see, like, yes, some of the stuff there is an element of danger. It's not like exact. I'm not hitting you with pillows, but
yeah,
it wasn't. He was a lot safer than I would probably have thought. Like, and again, this is one of those weird things that the more of a wrestling fan you are, the longer you've watched this, you start picking apart certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a kid, or when I watched this stuff, like in the '90s, which I was a kid, I would have been like, "Oh my god, it's so brutal!" And now watching it as an adult, I can be like, "Huh, it actually looks safer than I thought it was," because he did it in a certain way that I could see how you're kind of like protecting someone.
Yeah, and you can appreciate the skill that comes in doing it that way. Yeah. Whereas, look, you want to punch to look good, you can just haul off and sock somebody in the face, sure. Mm. But if you want to have good punches, it looks like you do that, but you don't. And there was, how can I best put this? I had a lot of criticism for, just as an example, the Arabian Facebuster. But from watching it, whenever Sabu would do the Arabian Facebuster, yes, he's holding a chair under his legs. It's coming down on you in the vicinity of your head. But that's not what's landing first. His butt's hitting the mat
Butt's landing first, yeah.
And so he found a way to do very visually striking things that were not as nasty as they appeared to be. And
yeah,
I appreciate that. It's and you really have to be looking for that stuff to figure it out. And then also not to look at that and go, "Oh, you're doing be fake." And it's like, no, that's somebody protecting the guy he's working with. Like, appreciate the skill to it.
It's usually like what I've noticed the more I've looked at this stuff is like the things you kind of take for granted are the things that tend to be more dangerous than the things that look like really like super scary.
Yeah, if you don't get good rotation on a hip toss, you're landing on your head. So
or
that's that.
Or dropping them right on their cocks exploding that they might break. Because we saw that. Remember that happened to that happened to DDP on a show we watched.
Oh,
where they dropped him right on his butt.
Oh, there was a reason I never did sit out moves. Is because I did not like landing in the seated position. So I never did sit out moves. I would always do them into some kind of kneel. And number one, I could protect myself, and then number two, I could protect how I was landing on the other person. But
yeah, so we're gonna start off with our first match of the night, which is this is from like an NWA show called Grand Slam in Minnesota. So this is Sean Waltman versus Sabu.
Wasn't this a Dennis?
He was
Coruzzo.
Yeah, Coruzzo.
He talked a bit on this and they mentioned him.
Yeah, they mentioned him there.
He did not manage. He did avoid insulting black people on the show, though.
Yeah. My client Kamala.
Yeah, let's not.
Let's not relitigate his casual.
Yeah, that's.
This was a weird. I looked up the card, Brad,
Oh, that main event was. I'm looking it up right now, but that main
it was a
event
weird card.
pissed me the fuck
Oh,
off.
the main event. So this show happened on April 17th, 1983, from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Cage Match is saying that it was alleged attendance of 700, which is pretty decent for
It looked
an
pretty
indie
well
show.
attended.
Given some of the names, you could say like that, maybe. Well, I mean, I guess some of these people were like they were not as big as they were. And someone like, but the main event was Road Warrior Hawk versus Terry Funk. That was the main event. I would have been like, I'd be interested to see that. It went to a no contest.
In 1 minute
It's
and
like,
49
okay, well,
seconds.
in 1 minute 49 seconds. It's like really. If it's like if it went to a no contest at like 20 minutes, it's like, oh, okay, you saw a match, but it's like 2 minute match. Come on.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Brad Regans and Taz and Chris Candido and Jerry Lynn would have been interesting matches to watch. But Shad, you'll be glad to know your favorite wrestler of all time was on this show. Noted victim of a Vince McMahon sexual assault, who is like your absolutely favorite wrestler.
What the hell?
Nails. Remember what? Remember that's why he remember he assaulted Vince and said that like Vince like sexually assaulted him or something like that.
Yeah.
But he was in the semi-main event.
Nails. Oh, good God. Okay. Wow.
You know, Nails. Thinking about it, like Nails was before his time. Like if he was around now, being like like a 6 foot, 8 foot white guy, like they would have kept him in NXT for like 10 years. Like he would have been employed by the WWE for like 10 years and gotten like 100 chances and still sucked. But
well, let's be honest.
I thought you were gonna say he was
gonna paycheck.
I thought you were gonna say he could have grifted for a decade plus off of the sexual assault allegations.
Oh well, maybe.
I mean, let's be fair. Nails 2.0 did hang around in that company for what, 2 or 3 years under the name Nathan Jones.
Well, but that was because he was taking care of catering, because remember he was such a steroid abuser that he was lactating.
I had successfully forgotten about that, Brad. Thank you.
Nathan Jones is so bad. Like there's some,
so bad.
Like
God.
Vladimir Kozlov was terrible, but like he was way better than Nathan Jones. Like they at least successfully got like a couple months out of Vladimir Kozlov, and Nathan Jones was just nothing.
Yeah. Nathan Jones was not only just nothing, but Nathan Jones was on WrestleMania, and it's like,
yeah, I know.
Oh God.
So we start this match off, and we get some actually really nice mat work from Sabu and Waltman to start this off. So Sabu's approach to this is kind of like, oh well, he does kicky stuff, and he's like he likes to fly, so I'm going to work his legs, and this also gives me the added advantage when I decide to jump on him later. It'll make him less mobile to get out of the way. So I thought the way Sabu worked the early parts were really smart, and like it's one of those ones where the leg work doesn't necessarily factor in later, but it makes sense for the early goings because he's strategically trying to take away Waltman's strength.
The thing about this match that I appreciated is, what was this, 1993?
Yep.
Is that when it...
Yeah.
It is that early on, and Sabu has the character of Sabu figured out. He has... Not only... His look does not change. Like, he has the same look the whole time. But the other thing about this...
His biggest change was going bald. To his look is what happened in his career.
Yeah. He had the manner in which he moved and acted reminded me of the, and this is such a weird thing, but it reminded me of watching the first match that Randy Savage had for the WWF, where there was a lot of stalking and a lot of sinister movement, and
That caged
there
animal
was,
feeling.
yes, 100%. And while Savage was acting kind of more like a big cat, Sabu is kind of acting more like a,
Hyena.
I don't know, maybe like a gator or something. Very low, very, goes in quick, and then once he gets there, he hangs on it. There's very much, like, the personality just shows in how he's moving around the ring. And
it was interesting
man,
too because
that's a big deal, because there's so many people that when they get in the ring, they're just like, big guy getting in the ring, we're gonna have us a match where Sabu's like, I'm gonna bite his ankle, and you're like, you're gonna what? I'm gonna bite his ankle, and then I'm gonna kick him in the tongue, and you're like, yeah, I'd believe it just from how you're walking around.
it's also interesting. This one was very interesting. Quite a few of them were, because like he's not like stiff in the legs that he the way he kind of becomes later in the 90s, like around 96, 97. Like he's still pretty spry. Like there's because if you've seen Sabu later, even like more modern stuff, like there's a certain stiffness to the way he moves that's not there.
Shad, you had said this offline. We were kind of discussing this amongst ourselves, but I completely agree. Like the analogy to Savage to me is pretty good, because they both had, like what you highlighted, they both had this like energy about them. To me, it's like a manic energy. There's like this. It's like if people can buzz, like they both had that, where it's like there's this undercurrent of like just
Bloodlust.
yeah, violence. Like you really. I mean, I guess nowadays people would say aura, another word that's like overused, but it's like you clearly like you emitted this like energy that it's like, okay, this guy's crazy. Different level. Like Savage was obviously like, you seem like you're manic, you are like a big cat. You're just like you're gonna go off at any point. And Sabu was kind of like the same way, but Sabu was just like, this is like just a violent madman, but not a violent madman like his uncle the Sheik was, or even like a madman in the vein of like Abdul the Butcher, who the Sheik frequently tag teamed with back in the day. It's more like I don't want to say like reserved and not quite calculating, but just I don't know, a little more measured. But that energy is still there. Like he seemed like you had to be on your toes at all times with him. You can't just be like, lollygagging around. Like he would just move in and it'd be like that. It's like there's an opening, I gotta run in and like bite his fucking kneecap. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
It's
you could do that.
Have you guys ever gone to like Ren fairs and stuff?
Yeah.
So if you go to enough jousts, have you ever seen a joust where like you get a horse that is just super into it? Like you can tell like this horse would have been all about like combat, and like when they do their charges, that horse just goes hard, like way harder than the other horses. Like when you see that, like that's what it kind of reminds me of, is like that horse that's like, oh, that horse like is digging like what's going on.
That's why I liked the alligator comparison, is that he's very measured, he's very coming for you, but then the movement is explosive when he does it. He's not he's not, it's not full speed ahead the whole time. It's not manic quaking energy. It's kind of lying in reserve until you let go of the spring.
Yeah. But I thought this was a really good match. Like I liked Sean Waltman's comebacks, using the kicks. Like Sabu was very smart in the way he tried to take his weapons away. I liked when they kind of switched gears and he started doing the dives onto Waltman. I liked the blade job. Waltman was super sympathetic here. Sabu did like a really good job of healing it and like keeping like and letting Waltman work from underneath. Like I thought it was really good. The no contest sucked, but yeah.
Well, what could we expect from the main event is Terry Funk versus one of the Road Warriors that goes to
Yeah.
no contest in 2 minutes.
And Sir Oliver Humperdinck made an appearance at ringside with Sabu.
He was Sabu's manager. And did he hard way bust open Lightning Kid?
I don't think so.
I
Okay,
don't
because
think
It was
halfway,
so.
It was
halfway through the match, like Waltman is like bleeding,
Yeah.
like not a Muda scale, but it wasn't also like here's a small trickle. Like he was busted open,
it
and
was,
I wasn't sure if like he bladed or
I thought it was a little too clean for Hardway. I think like that first real hard that ring post ram he did on the outside, I think Waltman gigged on that one because his back was to the camera. And like he had a real good opportunity the way he was kind of like leaning against the ring post. I was like, oh, that's probably where he probably, because I saw, because you knew the thumbnail ruined it. I wish they'd redo the thumbnail because he's bloody in the thumbnail. But I was like, oh, that's probably where he did it because that's a real strong spot to blade.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good time to do it, and I don't know. Whenever I see a hard way, I mean, the most common place you see that's the eyebrow. So that's kind of what if I'm thinking it's a hard way, it's probably around there, or it's in a spot where it would make no sense to blade there, like right in the dead middle of your forehead, like right here. Doesn't make any sense to do that.
And I
Or
think
if it's on your cheek or something, it doesn't make any sense to do that.
Hardways usually, even if they're where they kind of you'd think they were, they never bleed like they should. You never get that
They can.
satisfying. You never get that satisfying like thing from them usually.
You can. I've done it, but it's since you don't have control over it, it's not typically doing that thing where it's like down the middle of your face for that big contrast or something.
And it made too much sense. I thought like the way that when he started bleeding made sense for like what was going on too.
Yeah.
So I didn't think he did hard way, but I mean he might have. I don't think I've seen Sean Waltman bleed much, honestly.
this.
This might be the only time I've seen him bleed, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Did he bleed
intentionally.
Did he bleed in the did he do any bleeding like in the Attitude Era? No, I don't think he did.
Well, kind of.
Not when he
Tore his rectum doing the
yeah.
Bronco Buster.
Yeah, not
twice.
when he did that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was like.
Oh, I thought
well,
you mean the Bronco / Ball Buster?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the only time I've
Little
ever
bit.
seen him bleed. Someone's gonna like comment and be like, "Oh, you dumbass! He did it like against Kane in like '99." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, good point."
Yeah.
Yeah, I
but
quite like
not
this.
not a lot, I think is a fair way to say it.
Yeah, he wasn't really a bleeder. I did notice though, you can tell even this early in his career, like Sabu's already got like because the video quality on this is pretty good for something that came from a VHS tape, but like Sabu already had like you could see the barbed wire scars on his arms and chest already.
Yeah.
And he already had what I would say is the iconic scar on his like left pectoral muscle.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he had the double
I didn't
one.
even
The
think
double
about
one.
that.
He already had that.
Huh. I didn't even
His
think
arms
about
his arms are all scarred up too.
that. That.
But yeah, this was a strong opener. It wasn't my favorite of this batch. It was tied with the Scorpio match. I thought 3 of these matches were really good, and one of these was a botch I was trying to avoid that I still picked out because my memory sucks. But we'll get to that one. So I thought this, like I said, we don't snowflake a lot. I kind of ballpark this at like a 3.5.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for it.
Yeah, I would actually, I would feel pretty comfortable with that. And I wrote in my notes like this is actually really good for its time. Like if you compare to some of the stuff that's out there today, it's like know, there are people who put out 4 and 5-star matches. Even with like how people overrate things. Like obviously the level nowadays could be of a higher quality, but for the time, like the early 90s, like this probably was like 3.5, and it's like how many 3.5-star matches would you get in '93 in North America? Probably not that many, but on like an
50 or
indie
less.
show,
Yeah.
yeah, like not that many. Definitely not that many on an indie show.
No.
I did see something crazy. It was Christopher Daniels wrestled someone on some show. And it was like some crazy match. It was like Terry Funk versus like Christopher Daniels or something around this time.
Wow. Okay.
But okay, so we're gonna go to what I think is the best match of this lot. So this is from I think it was the National Wrestling Council.
Okay.
It was obvious this was like a TV, like they were making some TV out of this, but so this is the Desert Death Match, and this is Mick Foley versus Sabu in the casino, which has some hilarious results later on. But my first takeaway from this is no one takes a chair shot worse than Mick Foley does.
Yeah, I've heard Foley talk about this, and I think it was in his first book too. He said that he was trying to keep a certain mystique and that sort of stuff, and he says that was a really stupid thing for me to do. And so it's like, well, yeah, because when I saw him, he said, there was one move I wish I had added to my repertoire early on. I can show it to you. It's this. It's right here. He said, if I'd done this when someone swung a chair at me, I'd be in a lot better place in my life right now. And I was like, okay, Mick, that's, well, I'm glad you said it before anybody else did.
And surprisingly, I was actually shocked. This was the second dumbest thing he did. It wasn't the dumbest thing, because they did something really dumb later.
Yeah.
Which is get between old ladies and their slot machines, because one of them might have gotten shanked. Because so this is pretty much a brawl. They almost immediately go outside of the ring, and it's pretty chaotic, but it's a fun brawl. But they get a little carried away, and they go into the casino proper, which probably got them banned from the...
Yeah, this was in Vegas, and I think it was at the Golden Nugget, which I've been to. Like that's one of those like off the strip, like casino. It's like old Vegas. Like sure was seeing better days in '94, but probably even in '94 it was like already like
it looked a little dumpy from this video.
Yeah,
I mean if they're having pro wrestling there, it's already got to be a little hard.
When I went to it, it was like 25 years after this, and it's like it was already like awkward. Show up here for like the cheap buffet.
They gave up on changing the carpets like 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, just wallpaper's all like yellow with cigarette nicotine stains. Just 50 years of nicotine stains.
Strip club quality buffet.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. Like they start brawling in the casino, and it lasts like just a minute. And I'm like, oh, they had to have been like, no, we got to go back. Like they're not gonna like this, because that's one thing. Like this casino is like, you stay in your fucking conference room that you book. Like you don't mess with like the floor. Like
But my favorite were
like I'm sure like that did not go over well. Like
but they're like, so it's like bedlam. But these old ladies are obviously terrified. But by God, they are not leaving their slot machines.
No, this thing's gonna pay out. Is what's gonna happen.
Like they're both terrified and body blocking their slot machines. Like wow, someone could have gotten shanked if they weren't careful there.
Yeah,
and they did break a blackjack table, I think.
They broke some kind of table, but it was a very formulaic Falls Count Anywhere thing, where you start out, you have the match in the ring, you randomly add wilder stuff. Then you get out of the ring, you do a big loop, and then you come back to the ring for the finish, so everybody can actually see it.
Yeah, and this would have been like 93 or 94, so that like it wouldn't have been formulaic at the time. This would have been pretty like crazy, and it reminded me a lot of Was it Eddie Gilbert and Cactus Jack that had like a big brawl, except they were able to film this successfully instead of just like them in the distance, like with the, with the crowd all around them?
I don't remember. That's a good question.
That sounds familiar, but I don't know.
It's been like 3 years now since I think we did the Eddie Gilbert stuff.
Okay.
Three
Yeah,
and a half years.
it's back there somewhere, but look, man, we've gone through so much stuff that keeping things picked out, it's only like the cream of the crop that sticks out in my head, It's like is it Hanson Andre? No. Okay, is it on that level? No, it might be fading into the mist at that point.
Yeah. Oh, we got the infamous my main well, it wasn't a week ending really. So it pretty much ends with Foley doing his infamous hanging in the rope spot.
Yeah.
And then like they get him loose and Sabu pretty much pins him because he choked himself out on the ropes.
Sabu hit him with didn't he do an Arabian facebuster here or something?
Yeah.
To get him out of the ropes?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
But so I thought this was a perfectly fun brawl. They didn't do anything other than the unprotected chair shot, which I blame Foley for. This was pretty safe and fun, and I did laugh like when they were in the casino, like around the elevator and stuff, and you had both fans and like people not knowing what's going on, just like shocked at the bedlam, which probably got them banned. I have to think.
It didn't do him any favors.
I doubt it was well received, but
no, it was hilarious though. Like legitimately, it was funny.
Yeah.
I think I wrote in my notes like, there was one of the Sabuisms here because he absolutely has to moonsault through the table at the end.
Yeah.
Like the match concludes and he's like, I know what people want. It's like I got to play the hits, and so he doesn't moonsault through the table, like just himself. Like he's not doing it through Cactus Jack. He's just like, let me leave the fans happy. This was a fun brawl. Like, I mean, I don't know if they were like feuding on.
I think
were they feuding in ECW at this time?
Probably.
Because this probably would have been in the time like Jack was in ECW or around it. If not, maybe they were feuding on the Indies, or someone decided to book this match. But it was a fun match. Like it's one of those things that like there's a lot of stuff in the 90s that's like I'm not even aware it exists on tape.
There's all this weird stuff that like maybe people just rediscovered, like, oh, we just found this videotape, or some fan cam from some convention in like 94 with like all these weird matches with guys, it's like, oh, this is weird. Like there's just like so much untapped like stuff from the 90s, because that's kind of where you could start getting fan cams of like a lot of shows that pop up.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're always finding stuff. Like I think PWO, like Peter F on there had like found like some like Japanese auction site where they found all this like fan shot footage of like New Japan like 5 years ago. Like they're always finding like weird stuff.
Yeah.
But I think what I liked about it is Shad's right. It is like a formula that they follow. But what I liked about it is it was kind of like an innovator of that, so you don't get all the cliched hack stuff you get in those brawls now, because it was so new that they didn't need to like hit those beats that people expect now. They were just kind of doing their own thing.
And even when I say that it's a standard format, that doesn't mean that it's bad. That just means that it's what you typically see is what the format is. We do stuff in the ring, we get out of the ring, we do a loop, we come back to the ring. That way everybody can physically see the finish. That's the only thing I meant. And it's not it's a good way to structure it. People get what they want. They get the brawling through the crowd. They get some wild stuff, and then everybody's able to see what the finish of the match is.
This would have gotten 5 stars for me if they would have brawled in the buffet. I'm just saying.
They're- they would have had to stay away from the prime rib counter because that dude's got a knife.
Yeah.
You know.
First one to get Giardia loses. So this one was the highlight for me. Like, I really liked this one. I also appreciated, like, it needs to be said, like, this for an indie, this was well shot.
That's true.
The Waltman match was well shot too. Both of these matches were well shot.
It actually was well. That's actually a fair point. Like the camera angles and everything for the Waltman match was like, it's actually pretty good. Like all things considered for like an indie show.
Yeah. I think they were shooting that for a tape. If I had to guess,
it seemed like that. But I enjoyed the desert death match a lot too. It was just fun, just like a fun, wild, chaotic brawl.
It was like a good
It was
meal
fun
at
to see all the
McDonald's.
casino.
It was well done. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like it's
Yeah.
not gonna stick with you, but it was enjoyable, and it was a fun romp.
Yeah. This obviously wasn't at that level, but when I watched it, I just, because it was like a wild, crazy brawl that just went along the casino, I just thought of like, he got a bicycle, Tony.
Yeah.
I just thought of like the crazy like WCW brawls that just went everywhere in the stadium.
Yeah.
He's in the women's bathroom.
And I appreciate there wasn't anything like overtly stupid like in ECW. Like, no one tried to jump 20 feet off of a balcony
Yeah.
or anything like that. It was nice and contained and safe. But let's move on to our next match, which was not safe. So this is the infamous match where Sabu cuts his bicep open. And thankfully, this match, we watched this with bad video quality. And I apologize to you guys to begin with. I was explicitly trying to avoid that, and I thought it was a Sandman match where he did that. And I realized I had it mistaken with when they did that, like, whatever gimmick, and he fucking concussed himself, like, early in the match, and it was all, like, wonky after that, is what I had confused it with. So I apologize. Like, I was expressly trying to avoid this one. But as soon as he did that failed dive into the barbed wire, I'm like, oh, fuck, this is that match. So if you don't know, this is like legit barbed wire. This is him versus Terry Funk for the ECW World title. So what happens is he pretty much does this jump into the corner, and he slices his like bicep open to the point where they have to go, like, they run to the back and get like athletic tape so he can, like, literally he like triage bandages his whole arm up. So it's like,
Yeah.
In the modern era, the match would have been stopped.
Yes.
It should have been, but you see why it wasn't. But yeah, they marketed this. Like, I remember, I feel like I saw this match like once, like years ago.
yeah,
But this was frequently like involved in.
This is
kind of the
always
marketing.
this is always in the fucking like video montages.
Yeah. Wasn't the tape like called like Born to Be Wired or something
I think
like
so,
that?
because
Like,
I think
had some sort of tagline
I think
like that.
I think the him like his jump into the barbed wire is what was always on those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is always
Yeah,
like
you're
right. I think this is always like, you got this, and it was like, the night Kamada wanna lay it, dance to top the ECW.
ECW arena.
I'm gonna have like Alzheimer's in my 80s and be saying that and be like, what the fuck? Are you
He's sitting
talking?
there, sitting there in the hospital. So, Brad, how are you doing today? And I come on to one dance on top of the ECW. I'm like, what is he talking about? It's like he's been saying it every day.
I have trouble saying it because fucking Too Cold Scorpio fucked me up on that, because like when they did the hoe bag with him, he called her Kamanawana Hoya. And it like, that's always in the back of my mind when I want to say it, and but yeah, that's forever. And we always find the clip and like post it. And I think other Brad and Justin think Matt and I are just giggling idiots because we always. But I heard that so much, like, especially if you got like the DVDs or anything, that was all like they would play those commercials all through it.
They did.
And it would,
They did.
that was always on there. That was like their big push one.
Every time. Every time that was on there. It's just like, dude, come on. Seriously?
Yeah.
Unedited. Uncensored.
But I will say, I think the way it happened, though, kind of worked and it got both of them over because Sabu looks like a badass because he just taped his arm up. But at the same time, Terry Funk looks like this classy legend because he kind of stopped the match and waited until Sabu got himself fixed up. So,
Yeah.
So in the narrative of the match, it like works for it really well, like for their characters.
Mm-hmm.
And this is pretty much nothing. Like they dive on the outside, they get super tangled up in the barbed wire, which just looks like it hurts. I'm glad this is really bad video quality, by the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Man, God, I was wincing the whole way through it because I'm like, God, it's just.
and Joey Styles made it worse.
He did something that I thought it was a good cover. Like when Sabu like ripped his biceps and then like kind of paused the match.
Yeah.
He did sell it as like because this was a match for the ECW title, and he basically made it seem like Sabu's like fighting back from this. Like he's just like so focused on winning the title. Like, and I thought like, well, that's not a bad way to cover this. Like is it dumb like to continue this match after everything? It's like yes, but you gave a logical reason why it is. Like he's just like, no, I want to win that title, and it's like it's kayfabe, but
well, and
I thought that part was good.
He didn't, and it helps. That's kind of where I think ECW had some advantages in the 90s, is because he didn't do his commentary live for a lot of the stuff unless it was pay-per-views. So, he knows it happened, so he gets to like form his narrative as he comments on it later.
Yeah.
But
it's. Yeah.
I did not dig this, and I'm sorry. I thought I was like, oh, this one's safe because that's not the bicep. Because explicitly went out there, and I'm like, I do not want the fucking bicep match. And like I said, I thought it was a Sandman match because I'm an idiot. So
It was the bicep match.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was match. As soon as I saw that, as soon as I saw him go in the corner, I'm like, oh fuck, this is the bicep match.
This it's kind of you can barely call it a match. It's just the gimmick is obviously the barbed wire, and they just focus on the
First
gimmick.
couple minutes are like a match.
Yeah, but the spot is it's all spots dealing with the gimmick of the match. And of course there's the infamous like bicep injury. But you can see why like they didn't just stop the match. It's because at the end the result is Sabu wins the title off Funk. So that was probably always the decision. So that's why they continued on with it. It's like, no, we gotta continue on. And it's like, just call an audible and be like, let's do this again. But
I would say even if the title wasn't on the line, he would do that because like Sabu really strikes me. I don't know if he's ever. I haven't listened to a ton of shoots, but he really seems like a. No, these people paid their money for this. Like I am giving them like what they paid for. Like he really strikes me as that kind of guy.
He had a match like this. Not like this. He had a standard Sabu match on Raw with John Cena, of all people.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wait, and it's like, dude, it's Sabu. Sabu's going to do Sabu matches, and Sabu's going to run it through to the end. That's just what he does.
I'm sorry, but like John Cena would not have let him do anything else because John Cena probably like saw him when he was a teenager and he's like, no, we are doing the Sabu spots. Like I don't
I'm wrestling Sabu. Let Sabu.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to head through the curtain, and someone's like, "All right, you guys, just have a normal match." And Cena looks at him and is like, "Do your stuff."
I don't recall if I've ever seen that match. I may have, but that was like almost 20 years ago.
It was whoring that match to me hard when I was looking for all this. It's like, oh, Sabu, you want the John Cena Sabu match? Like, no, but thank you.
I did see on Twitter people talking about that and saying very favorably. So it could be like it could be a decent match.
I mean, in fairness to
Is
him,
it a,
I'm not crapping on him, but he did get over at WWE. Like it kind of
he got
gets,
over?
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Like that
it
fucked the
was it.
whole. It fucked the whole elimination chamber because he and Punk got eliminated early, and the crowd just died because that was all they cared about was Punk and
Yeah.
Sabu.
Um, is it a 5-star classic? I don't know, but it could be at least like it could be like the Waltman match. It could have been like a 3.5-star match, and it's like it's perfectly fine. But
Maybe
I
we'll
did see people talking about it on social media, and I even saw a clip of, or maybe it was something I read, but it was him talking about that match, and he actually gave a lot of praise to John Cena, saying like John Cena is a professional. Like we did the match, like I even forgot some of my spots, and he called them out to me, which got a chuckle out of me because like John Cena's notorious for calling his spots like loudly in the ring. That's something he does, and I think I like John Cena. Like I think John Cena.
That's part of Cena's charm,
Uh,
though.
yeah, that's part of Cena's charm, and I think Cena is a better worker overall in the course of his career.
He's not
Yeah.
as
I'm not
bad
going
as
to comment about his current match production.
he's not as bad as the
But
most infamous called spot was Rico with "God damn it, Jeff, get over here."
Or Where the Hell is Vicky by Eddie Guerrero. No, I'm sorry. The most infamous spot was Ken Shamrock at ringside saying to his kayfabe sister, "Blood's thicker than water. Slap me." And it's just like, oh, that's Ken. You're I was a huge fan of. That's indefensible, man.
yeah, but Sabu had positive things to say about John Cena, saying like, look, I forgot some of my spots. He like reminded me of them. Like he was good. Um,
You know,
so
fucking.
Sabu had good things to say about that match.
You know, if like. Though I'm saying it slightly in jest, but like Sabu was like, I don't feel like doing this move, and Cena's like, God damn it, we're doing the move. I get one Sabu match. You're doing the thing. It's like when Edge kind of ruined the tag team with Hulk Hogan because he was enjoying doing the Hulk Hogan stuff like way too much with Hogan.
Yeah.
Mm.
But like I think I maybe we should watch that for next week with whatever and like look at it. But like I imagine like being the time when Cena came up, like he was gonna do all the Sabu stuff because Cena watched Sabu.
Yeah.
Well, that's there's certain guys that are either they're so notable or they are iconic, whatever. It's like he's obviously retired, but if I was a worker in AEW
Mm-hmm.
and I randomly have like I'm in a tag match against like Sting and Darby. I'm in the ring with Sting. Like whatever. Like let's say I'm like part of I'm like Daddy Magic or I'm behind look I'm like I know I'm gonna eat a pinfall, whatever. Like I'm going to Sting before the match. And I'm like, look, I don't care if your match time, like your actual time, like spending in this match is like a minute. Like Darby's doing the rest of it. Like here's the thing. You're going to Stinger Splash me.
I
We're gonna
need a
make that
sting.
happen.
Sir, could I
Yeah.
please take a Stinger Splash and could I please
Yes.
take a Scorpion
But
Deathlock?
I'd be like
Yes,
Sting
yeah,
like
and I need a Scorpion Deathlock or Scorpion Death Drop. Like that's got to be happening.
it's like Sting
Like,
like
I
I
need
just
that for me. I don't care. I need that for me.
I've got this image, Matt. You're in the corner, and there's a Stinger Splash, and after he hits, you go, "Please, sir, can I have another?"
Yeah.
I'd be like
Well, that
I'd be like, I'm just gonna be honest with you, Sting. Like when you do your Hulk up thing, like I'm probably gonna giggle and like be too happy.
that reminds me of like when different thing, but when Moxley like took the DDT from like Jake, and like got the snake smith on. You could see him like actually smiling because like he's such a fucking nerd for it. He's like he's probably dreamed of that. Like I dreamed of this when I was like 8 years old, watching this shit. But yeah, like it to make it a little blue. But I don't know if you ever saw it like back in the day, like Effie.
Wait, okay.
Like back just a few years ago, Effie was like,
Oh, when he
like I
lived his
can't
dream of tongue kissing Ricky Morton in front of Tommy Rich in the crowd.
Oh no, but someone on Twitter like Effie made a comment. It's like he's like, my weakness is actually like, daddies. So like I can't be in the ring with, some of these guys. It's like, and one of his lines is like, splash me again, Mr. Steve. Like, like, oh my God, like this is not appropriate.
Please don't. Please don't do this.
Yeah, don't make it dirty, Effie, please.
I could just see Moxley showing up and like Jake's just there. He's like, Jake, I rented like 20 snakes. Like, which one do you want to use? Like, or do you want to use all of them? And Jake's like, okay.
What's wrong with you? Like,
Kid, I don't know what's wrong with you, but I'm here for it.
But I get it. Like there would be people, like I said, like it's just like, no, we have to do the thing.
Yeah.
yeah, like if I was in the ring with Dustin Rhodes, I'm like, you're gonna do the power slam, and you're gonna give me the bulldog. Like,
Well,
it's gotta happen.
if God,
It's the
if
thing.
I was going to be in the ring with Dustin Rhodes, and it would be like, all right, Mr. Rhodes, I have a quick. Would you mind? How much would you mind if I like sold real big off of your punches? And he's like, what are you talking about, real? I'm like, I don't want to go goofy, but I may not be able to help myself from being a little bit on that. Would that upset you? I'd really rather you don't do that. Okay, I understand, sir. Thank you. It's just like we'll do whatever you want to do, sir. That's yes, sir. Yeah, with someone I respect that much.
Yeah.
Man. God.
Yeah, I know it's rough. I don't know how some of those guys do it when they get to work with someone like that.
There are people who are, this shit, like they're obviously on like a different level.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the thing I think I posted on like the Discord, but it was actually like really clever. Like it was an old match, but like we've talked about before, we complain about how too many times like it's a spot of people diving to the outside. And it's like you just sit around and wait for like 60 seconds or something stupid. It's like, oh, I gotta wait around for the spot, and they don't make it look good.
Mm-hmm.
It was Bobby Eaton. Bobby Eaton was gonna get dived on, and because he was smart and a pro, had he masked like, oh, I'm waiting for the dive, where it's like, oh, I got hit in the face. It's like, hold my face.
Yeah.
Looks like he's like distracted. Like I can't see because I'm holding my face. And it's like, oh, he's stumbling around holding my face. Like, oh, I'm in so much pain. And then it's like, oh, he's selling it. It's like, and that way he's acting like, oh, I can't see what's happening. So make it perfectly obvious. Like, oh, that's why he's stumbling around waiting for it to get dived on. And then boom.
Yeah.
Gets dived on. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, can't believe it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And it's like, I can't believe guys just sit around like, guess I'm waiting for the dive. Like, come on. Be smart.
Speaking of guys having too much fun, there is a match where someone like the Bruiser Brody and Stan Hansen versus Harley Race and Nick Bockwinkel. Bockwinkel did kind of almost ruin that match because you could tell he was having too much fun because he was smiling the whole time. Like you could tell he was having way too much fun with himself on that one, but it does happen. So then our final match that we did. So this is Sabu versus Two Cold Scorpio. I'm guessing this is like 94-ish, maybe 95. My big takeaway...
95, I think.
Okay, that sounds about right. So I had commented in the Discord that I think Two Cold Scorpio is completely safe in the ring. I think he's a really good worker. He's not going to hurt you, but I was like, man, he looks like he would wear your ass out if you had to work a match with him.
This match was interesting to me because I actually felt like, for the most part, Scorpio kind of like dominated here. Like I felt he was mostly the one on the offense, and he kind of grounded Sabu. And then I started getting into like a different mind space. I know we were talking about Sabu and the focus was Sabu, but I got into a mindset where like Two Cold Scorpio, I'm like, God, that guy should have been bigger than he was, and not that he didn't have a good career.
Yeah.
And certainly had a lot of success over in Japan, even like Pro Wrestling Noah, where he did stuff with Big Van Vader. They were a tag team. I think they won the tag titles.
Yeah.
In Noah.
Yeah.
he had a good career. Was obviously very big in the '90s, but it's like he had spots. He had a brief stint in WCW. He had the horrible Flash Funk crap in the WWF/WWE.
I remember.
But in North America, his biggest stuff was probably like in ECW, and it's like
He was on
not
the
that he had
job
a bad
squad with
career.
Hardcore Holly, wasn't he? Weren't they a tag team for a bit?
Maybe.
I think he was.
But I mean, he's a guy that if he was around the modern era, like he would have. I would have hoped that he'd probably be signed with like someone like AEW, but he'd have a much.
He'd
be much more celebrated
he's
than he perhaps was.
He's pretty
Yeah.
open in shoot interviews that he was kind of his own worst enemy with his habits and his partying.
Maybe.
Because that's what I think he said. That's pretty much what tanked his WWE run was his proclivities.
I remember watching him in WCW, just doing high flying stuff before you saw anybody else doing high flying stuff. It was super impressive. You know, he did an acai moonsault before I think the name acai moonsault was attached to it.
Well, I think
And it's just like, holy crap, dude!
I think he is the first guy that did the 450 in the U.S.
That wasn't Scott Steiner.
No,
Well,
Scott did.
Scott may have originated it, but
no, I think Scott.
he wasn't doing it regularly.
I think Scott said, no, Scorpio did it because I totally botched it and like fucked my head up when I did it, so we'll give it to him.
Okay.
Yeah, Scorpio was in WCW like '93.
He got a tag
I've said
title
before,
run
like,
out of it.
Yeah, with Bagwell.
Yeah.
I started watching wrestling in mid '92, and I started watching WCW at that time. And so by the time he came into WCW, I was maybe watching like a year. And point is, like, I mean, I was new, but at the time, no one, maybe like Japan, but no one in North America in WCW or in WWF at the time was doing like 450 moonsaults. It's like what, like he did that, and it's like your mind, like it's the emoji of like the head exploding. It's like,
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, it was amazing.
It's like,
Yeah.
he reminds me of like that 93 run is like, well, they were smart enough to not make him heel, but it's like when they brought Muda in '89 and they're trying to play him off as a heel and he's getting cheered by like week 2 because he's doing all this cool shit in the ring. And like, you know,
Yeah.
these work rate crowds are just like all about him. But no, I mean, he was doing like crazy stuff for the time.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like he gets the credit for being an innovator like he should. You know, like nobody talks about. It feels like, I don't know if they do or not, but it feels like nobody talks about Scorpio being the guy who was on the front edge of all that.
And I feel like he was I think what hurt him at the time too is I don't know, like in that era guys were still stuck in the past, and I feel like his gimmick, like he was very much like he had a very 90s like urban gimmick at the time. Like he did, like when you see him in ECW or WCW, he feels like he belongs in that era, not that you're watching a gimmick 5 years out of date like you get a lot of the time. So I think that's why people struggled with him. I think that's why he did better in ECW, because ECW was very cutting edge, like culturally. Like I think that's why it struggles now, because like to enjoy ECW, you really have to be living that kind of grunge era feeling that ECW has.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
But
it's very much a vibe.
Yeah. But I think I agree with Heyman, because there's a question to him about what he thought about Sabu, and he really said that like Sabu should have been a way bigger star, because by the time he got in front of more eyeballs, he had already like ruined his body. And I kind of agree that I think Sabu should have been a bigger.
You said that?
Paul Heyman.
So that's ironic, because I mean, there's legitimate claims out there and criticism that Paul Heyman completely screwed over Sabu.
Oh, he screwed over
At
everyone
points.
in ECW. Like,
Well, yeah,
I mean,
he did.
he
But I
had
mean,
people charging up their
there's
credit cards, like the scammy shit Heyman did. Like, people don't. He gets a pass for some, like, I think Candido and Tammy like had charged their credit cards like way up for stuff for him, and he just totally fucked them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and even later did like a sheet interview where it's like, oh, people should get over it. It's like, what do you mean
Nope.
get over it?
Yeah, he gets a pass. He gets a pass for some really scummy shit that like.
But I don't know the specifics, but I guess I read in the passing of Sabu that I guess Sabu had signed. He had some sort of deal with WCW in 2000, so a little before WCW like folded. And Heyman somehow like screwed up the deal, like he like nixed the deal, whatever. And it's like, if he hadn't, like Sabu, whether he ever debuted or not, we know how like the mess WCW was, but he would have probably been like part of the whole buyout, and he could have gone to the WWE at the time, where he just like coasted and getting, paid.
Or
the
would have got
deal.
like $500,000 for doing jack and shit.
He would have had like he would have had like 3 or 4 years of like getting paid big money to maybe do nothing.
Yeah.
So, and Paul Heyman screwed that up. So Paul Heyman would be like, oh, he was ahead of his time, like giving him accolades. It's like, okay. And Sabu was someone who even like he would make comments on social media, on Twitter and everything like that, like shitting on Paul Heyman. So I don't think they were on necessarily good terms. But
I did enjoy, and I'm gonna miss it so much. Him trolling Jordan Grace always made me laugh. Because she fell for the bait every time, and he would just make it worse.
He is someone who, if you actually looked at his like Twitter feed, he did not, as they say, he didn't give 2 fucks.
No.
He didn't give a fuck.
Because my favorite
Like, he would
exchange
say-
with Jordan Grace is she main event some show, and he's like, "Why'd they let a midget like main event a show?" And she like totally spurred out at him, and his reply is like, "Well, I understand, but why did they let a midget main event?" And he's just doing it to like piss her off, but like,
Yeah.
like he like that like I said, it's part of his charm.
There was someone, again, people. He's been dead only like 48 hours roughly, but people have been posting tributes and everything. And some people were just posting like some of the funniest things he did or said on Twitter, and it legitimately, it's like funny stuff, because again, he didn't care. Like, he didn't care if being canceled, like whatever. Someone, like, this is from like, and this is going back like a few years. Someone posted that's like, oh, I made like on one of the SmackDown games, for Xbox, whatever. He's like, oh, I made like a creator wrestler. I did a caw of Sabu, and Sabu was like commenting on it. And it's like, this Sabu sucks. Like, his attire's horrible. Looks out of shape. Like, you didn't work on this. He wasn't trying to be mean. He's just like being honest. It's like, this is a terrible caw. Like, do better.
Yeah.
There's another one where remember the whole like Brian Kendrick issue that he had, where it's
conspiracy
like
theory stuff.
Yeah, it's like he was gonna do like a gig with AEW, and then like literally like the same day, it's like actually he has all these tweets and comments and interviews he did denying the Holocaust, and it's like Sabu said, he's like, this was on it, and Sabu commented, he's like, what's going on here? Like, what did Brian say? So someone posted like the interview where it's like Brian Kendrick is questioning the Holocaust, and Sabu, it became infamous. He's just like, oh shit, LOL.
Oh, yeah.
It's like yeah, Sabu, it's real bad.
That one is that one. The only tweet in my opinion is better than that one is it's Ricochet, right?
Yeah.
That's the only one better, but I think Brian Kendrick had worked a couple of dark tapings before all that stuff came out.
Yeah,
Sabu,
you're right. He had. And then that comes out, and they backed off of him so fast. And I don't blame him.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, you kind of there are certain levels of things you can put up with, but that was not one of them. But yeah, I tend to think so I also we don't fantasy book on a lot of this stuff, but I was kind of thinking about that because I was watching this stuff. I'm like, Sabu's kind of bulletproof in the booking if you don't totally job him out. Like, he doesn't have to win the big matches and stuff because he's gonna do something crazy and get his heat right back. Like his mystique does not necessarily require him to win because that's not kind of the point of his character. And I was kind of thinking like, so what would I do with him? And I was kind of like, I think I would just make him like a chaotic third like axis, like in a heel baby face thing where he just kind of goes after everyone that gets in his way.
Just whoever pisses him off, he goes at.
Yeah.
He is a guy that's like you didn't necessarily need to have him win all the time. Like you can't just have him lose all the time.
Yeah, because
But
at some point, people will just be like, "Oh, he sucks," but like, you give him enough wins to like retain credibility, and then you're good.
yeah, but you could have like your big baby face like go over him, and he could easily get his heat back because he just like attack someone new or whatever.
Put
Like
someone through a table.
yeah, and he was a better worker than he got credit for. And again, it's one of those things. It's like, what do people know Sabu for? It's like, oh, he's gonna like do an Arabian face buster with a chair, or he's gonna put a guy through a table, whatever like that. And it's like, yeah, he did that, but he didn't have to do that. Like he could do more than that.
And I mean, it is. I know people would disagree with this, but like once you get older, like, okay, everything's gonna hurt. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna spend 8 minutes doing mat work with a guy and taking some bumps that are gonna fucking hurt, or are you gonna give some guy an Arabian facebuster and put him through the table and heart punch and go home? Like, what are you gonna do? Because the thing is, and the
Finish,
thing
brother.
is, and the
Heart
thing
punch,
is,
go home.
and one of the things too, if you're Sabu, like people are gonna be happier if you just do the facebuster and put someone through a table and versus you actually trying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's like, because you don't want to be like, oh, you don't want to be like Def Leppard on tour and like it be that concert like, well, this one's off our new album and you just hear the in the crowd.
Well, it's like when I took my wife to see my wife's favorite all-time musician is Garth Brooks. I took her to see him live twice. You know what he said at the beginning of it? He goes, "I know what you're here for. We're just playing the hits. Let's get started." And it's just like, all right.
Years ago, probably close to like a decade ago, or maybe a decade ago, every like, I think it's like Labor Day. It's like the one in September. Like I always
Labor
confuse
Day.
Labor Day, Memorial Day. Like Labor Day. They did
Eminem.
maybe
That's
they
how
still
you
do it. Like,
remember it.
The Made in America festival. They'd have it like for two days in Philadelphia, like every Labor Day. They may still do it, but I think it's either run by Jay-Z or maybe it still is. I don't know. But my wife and I went one year. We got tickets for like only like one day, but the headliner for like this, I think it was like a Saturday night. The headliner for Saturday was 9 Inch Nails, and it's like my wife and I both like enjoy 9 Inch Nails. Like we wanted to see 9 Inch Nails, and we saw them, and it was awesome. And Trent Reznor, they played maybe like 3 or 4 songs from like their album at the time, which was a popular album, like it was a good album. And then after like 3 or 4 songs, he literally said that. He's like, "Yeah, we know what you guys are here for. You want to hear the hits." So they just played like 12 of the hit. Like they just played for like the next like hour and a half, like the hits. And it was amazing. But yeah, it's like, yeah, we know what you're here for.
Our version
Sabu, it's like, you want me to break a table? Let's go. Like, yeah.
We get in July, we get Jazz and Rib Fest, so it's a bunch of jazz music, and then you get a shitload of barbecue and pass out on the lawn for 2 hours while you listen to a bunch of jazz music. It's pretty awesome. Though it sucks though, because it's like crazy since COVID happened. Like the first
Yeah.
couple years back, like you couldn't even like walk.
Too many people, just all crammed in,
Yeah,
or
because like I don't know where you guys live, but like once like conventions and like concerts and stuff started coming back, and like the restrictions fell off, like everything got crazy busy.
Mm.
Like conventions, like everything. It's starting to kind of go back to normal, but like that first year or two, it's kind of why I think WWE got so hot when they did. Is like the product was getting a little interesting right as like the COVID restrictions were dropping off, and people were itching to go to stuff.
yeah. So yeah. Well, interesting thing along that line. My local big convention, they don't. Right after COVID, up until this year, it's just crammed so full, it's hard to move on Saturdays. And then they changed the layout, and they took a bunch of people and they moved them to not on the main floor, but on another part there, where a friend of mine who ran a booth there said he got pretty good traffic and he did all right, so that's good. Um, they did that. The whole reason they did that and moved some off the main floor was so they can widen the aisles so people had more room to walk. And I'm like, all right, you know what? I appreciate that.
It's really nice when they do the ones here at the Columbus Convention Center because like there's a lot of space that's very open. So like even when it's busy, like you can always like get like some space to yourself. Because the one
Yeah, yeah,
Colossal Con, it's at like this hotel that has a water park, and that one's
yeah.
kind of rough because it's not so spacious. So it's
Mm-hmm.
and then Sundays. If you haven't gone to conventions, usually Sunday there's just people passed out in the hallways because they've been drinking for like 3 days straight.
Is Colossal Con the one you said they have like almost like tiki drinks at the like for the water park or whatever?
Oh,
Just like it gets
they're
people get
huge. They're like
sloppy.
32-ounce like mixed drinks.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They have like anime names, but it's just like, oh yeah, you can just buy these big ass fucking drinks, and the hotel's attached. Like that one is just like a party of debauchery for like 4 days straight.
Yeah, there's some of that happens with Dragon Con, and it's just like, ooh, boy,
Yeah, because people don't understand. Like, is that just a nerd con? Like, you like if you saw like if you showed up Sunday and there's just people laying in the hallway because they're just that hungover, like you would think of it differently.
yeah, it's like, yeah, you're not. Just because it's nerds enjoying something they enjoy does not mean that they can't go hard.
Yeah,
Because
nerds still have needs too.
Hmm.
yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
I was getting stalked by some woman, and like, what was she in? She's in like a furry outfit. She was stalking me at some convention. I was just like, get like away.
Look, I don't. People are gonna have their own vibe. Go ahead and do that. That's one that's not a fit for me. I'm
No,
just
it's
like,
like
no.
it's like I'm very flattered, but the only thing that could be worse than being a furry is a brony.
Look, I know some very nice people that fit into those fandom. As long as it's not all you talk about, like anything else, you'd be all right.
There was some
As
documentary
long
on
as
there was some documentary on Netflix about bronies once that was quite the experience.
yeah, yeah, it, yeah.
My friend who's a Methodist pastor, he was in town for a convention once, and the hotel that he picked and stayed at, like FurCon was going on that weekend. I just mocked him relentlessly for the whole weekend.
Yeah, that's
Because I would just be like, I just like, you're just surrounded by yiffing all over the place.
Yeah, I ain't. That's a realm that just don't work for me. Like, I can appreciate the work that goes into making those, but you all go have fun. I'm gonna stay over here.
Yeah. I don't. They don't. I'm honestly like, they're pretty harmless. I'm trying to think of what I consider the most obnoxious fandom at conventions.
Well, I'm just glad that glomming has finally dropped off.
What's that?
The hell is
Uh,
glomming?
So I don't know what it came out of. I know it came out of an anime thing, but it was a run up and group hug somebody kind of thing. And I had there was a group who tried to do it to me once, and I'm just walking up this hallway, and they just this group, and they just start charging at me. And I'm like, what the hell is? And as they get close, I see they're not slowing down, so I just do a big jump to the side, and they all kind of like fall over themselves. And like, hey man, what's wrong with you? I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Oh, we were just gonna glom me. I'm like, I don't know what that is. It looks like assault.
Yeah, I ain't cool.
What's your
with-
problem? Is like a whole group of people charging
I
me
don't-
like that out
I
of
don't
nowhere.
like-
It's like, no.
I don't like people.
I don't.
I don't like people I don't know touching me.
Yeah,
It's like that would have. Yes, that
I
would have
like-
turned into violence.
I like my personal
Um,
space.
Yeah,
I don't want an invasion of my personal
that's
space.
the biggest.
I don't know
thing,
you. Don't hug me.
That the biggest thing that happens with conventions is that you have to repeat the line over and over again. Cosplay is not consent. Just because I'm wearing a costume does not mean that you can do anything. You want a picture? Ask first. But I have been the guy that some women have gone to and been like, hey, look, I need for you to talk to me for like 15, 20 minutes so that this guy will leave me the hell alone. And I'm like, oh, okay, come sit in our booth. And whenever it comes, that's the guy. And so he comes walking by, and I just turn and make it real obvious that I'm watching him.
This is an honest question.
It's a-
Do you feel like some of these people just they don't understand the social cues,
they don't.
or
No, they don't give a shit.
Well, some
Oh,
of
they
them
don't
do.
care.
It is a very misogynist mindset that comes out for some of these people. It's like, well, I came here to see hot chicks in sexy costumes, and that's what I'm here for. It's like that's not what they're
Okay.
there here for.
You
Yeah,
get, but
yeah,
there are people that
you-
don't
you-
understand though, because they're like,
There are some that do that have some separation stuff.
yeah,
There are some people that are going to have issues like anything else. Okay, but the biggest issue are the ones who they are aware that they shouldn't be, but they do it anyway.
because there's like, I've had issues like, I haven't had much issues, but like, you run into like some women that like want to hug you or whatever. It's like, no, like, no, no, please don't, like, stuff like that. They're people having fun, and like they're a little on the autistic spectrum, and boundaries just aren't like.
The folks who are on the spectrum may be having to try and figure out how the dynamic is different in a different setting. Okay, that's fine.
And I
Whatever.
mean, like, and I think typically when you go to those cons, like, some of those people are a little more touchy feely, and I'm just kind of like, no, like, I'm a 44-year-old man, just don't, like, especially, and I don't get it too, because like, man, like, cosplayers stink because you're in those fucking costumes all day and you're just sweating up a brutal storm the whole time.
First of all, ouch.
I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, people are like, I'm like,
It
those
just happens.
costumes are hot. Like, do you know how much they are sweating?
Yeah,
Here's the thing.
and in fairness to some of those people, it's like a lot of these places, the ambient body temperature of a lot of people in a room is going to elevate the temp of the, and some of these places, like, they don't necessarily plan. The venue itself doesn't plan. It's like, maybe we should, especially it's like it's a convention that is, let's say, May through like September even.
Mhm.
It's like, it could be warmer. Like, we should probably make
And
sure
if-
like the
if
AC
you're
is
in-
running. It's like,
In Ohio, it gets humid as balls here, which makes it even harder.
well, I mean, and
I'm
not
sure Kentucky's
not all
just
the
as
time.
bad.
well,
it might be worse.
July, August, somewhat in September. Like, it can be very humid in DC.
Oh, you got
So-
that. You got that water there too, so that's gonna make it even worse. So that shit probably just
It's not-
hangs in the.
It's not all the time, but yeah, July, August for sure. It's kind of edged into like September. Like it can be humid as hell. So
Yeah.
yeah, to the point where it could be 75. So it's like, oh, it's not that bad. But like you could literally, if it's really humid, 75 degrees, you could walk a block and be like drenched in sweat. And it's like,
Yeah.
I had
it's not because it's
someone that lived in
boiling hot outside. It's just too humid.
someone in a desert moved here, and they're like, so like, explain the concept of humidity to me. And I'm like, okay, imagine you open your front door and someone just punches you right in your face. Like that is what humidity is.
As an aside, the most humid place I've ever been to is Vietnam.
Oh, I can imagine.
It was hot. It was hot, but super humid. And that
You
literally
just-
was like, my wife and I, we went for a honeymoon. At this point, 11 years ago, when we went to, almost 11 years ago, when we went there. And it was like, it was shock. Not even like, I wouldn't say culture shock. It was like body shock. Like we would walk like a quarter mile and it's like, let's duck in there. That looks like a convenience store. Let's duck in there and buy a bottle of water. It was like, let's buy a bottle of water every like quarter mile because we were just like drenched in sweat. It was like living in a Bikram yoga studio at all points in time, just super humid, hot, sweating everywhere.
Oh, I
I
remember.
can't imagine wearing like a furry costume or whatever,
Yeah.
like for a cosplay thing. Like,
I remember who it is now, Shad. It's Steven Universe fans. I always have weird interactions with at cons. Like they're the ones that I always have. Like, no, just stay there.
that's I've never seen that show, but I've heard a lot of things, and that's a kind of a different type of show.
It's like stay there. I will beat you with your own shoe if you've ever watched Reno 911.
I did not get a chance to see, but Thomas Lennon and Cedric Yarbrough were at the convention this past time, and they were in full Reno 911 gear for it, and just having a ball. So
Oh, they did bring
it's
they brought BattleBots to Colossal Con once. That was fun. Loud as hell.
that's
though.
cool.
And
I don't doubt it.
they've done a wrestling panel. So Colossal Con usually, I think it's like Mega Championship Wrestling's up there, and they always run a show like Saturday night. They're doing a wrestling panel, and like the wrestlers like invaded the panel and like cut a promo on everyone, like, "Hey, come see our show." But they did it in character. But that was fun.
Yeah.
I think more promotions should actually, if you go to those kind of conventions, because I think you would get a good crowd
Yeah.
and get some eyeballs on your.
Oh yeah, absolutely could. Absolutely could.
But I haven't been in a couple years. I don't think I've been very much since COVID happened.
Hmm.
But I always ask people if I can take a picture. I think that's creepy just to.
That's yes. You go up. Hey, can I take a picture of you? They're going to say yes. Take your picture. Say this. Your costume looks great, and go on. That's all you got to do. That's really it. But
I've thankfully
some
never
people are-
seen terrible behavior, just kind of like borderline, like, I don't know, bad social, awkward behavior.
I have been used as the deterrent for bad behavior before, and it's just like, all right, who is it? And then they point it out, and I'll be like, oh, I'm very openly going to watch you as you go back and forth. You know why? Because if you make an issue out of it, well, I mean, the first thing that'll happen is if we go and tell security, security's going to remove you. And then the second thing is, I will embarrass you in front of everybody, and you're not going to do a thing to me.
Yeah, I don't know why people gotta be fucking creeps.
Some people just get any large gathering of people like that are going to have some creeps in it. That's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
I only had my one stalking experience, and I lost them in the store space.
that's good.
What was she dressed as? I don't remember. It was a furry though, so it was quite frightening.
I don't know. I don't understand. That's all I got.
You don't see them quite like you used to. My favorite cosplay I saw though is someone. I saw a picture of it. He dressed as Alf, dressed as the Flash. Or a Mel Makian dressed as the Flash.
The last one I went to, there's some friends of mine who they did a Severance group, and I was just like, wow, this sounds really dystopian. And they're like, oh yeah.
Have you seen Severance?
No. I don't think that I would enjoy it.
My niece
So
and I,
good.
my niece wanted to do like, she wanted us to cosplay something one year, and it's not my deal. And I'm like, and my brilliant idea was, well, let's do Rick and Morty. You'll be Rick and I'll be Morty. So I just had to get like dark jeans and a yellow T-shirt, and then like they took pictures of us, and they're like, why are you sulking on all of them? Because it's like, because I'm fucking Morty. I'm in character. Because they're like, why didn't you smile? I'm like, because I'm Morty. Because I was like looking downtrodden and like not.
Oh, edgy Rick.
But there was a lot of
Chad.
Yeah.
Were they the innies or the outies in their Severance cosplay? Probably the innies.
Probably innies, yes. They had like little finger traps and that sort of stuff, and they were wearing professional attire.
That's deep. That's a deep dive.
If I can find it, I'll send it to you. How's that?
Such a good. Yes, please.
All right, let me work on that. Let me see what I can come up with. This is for last year. What the heck, man?
Yeah, I was gonna say, going back to Sabu, I was, like I said, my shocking revelation, and I mean, I guess just seeing him in a concentrated like viewing session and like looking at him more critically, like I think my big takeaway was like, he's known for like the crazy deathmatchy stuff, but under all of that, there was a foundation of like a very competent worker. He's kind of like actually, I think it's a great. Well, he's gone now too, so it won't be modern. But like a great, I think, successor to him was Necro Butcher, where you had all the crazy stuff, but it was built on a foundation of a competent wrestler.
Of knowing what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The reason that I don't like deathmatch wrestling is because there are too many people who see it and they think that's just what you have to do. They don't have their stuff built up. They don't have the actual skill. So they just think, oh, this is all there is to it. And it's like, it's not, but you can't talk them out of it. And no, man, you're just not hardcore enough for it. It's like, well, no, first of all, I'm not stupid enough for it.
And really, though, if you listen to Sabu's thing, it's like Sabu's kind of idea originally, I think it got flanderized as it went on, but it was like, well, no, like, I'm going to do a standard match and I'm going to put some guy through a table because, like, people don't put people through tables, so that's going to stand out and, like, really sell it. But, like, the table is all that I need. Like, then I put that around a match. Whereas I think deathmatch guys are like, what's all the crazy stuff I can do? Which is where they should be thinking is, okay, here is like a match built on fundamentals. How do I add the deathmatch? Like where into that can like the glass and the thumbtacks come in to accentuate a wrestling match versus, oh, we're just gonna bleed everywhere and do dumb shit and kill each other.
Yeah, you have to have a foundation of being able to tell a damn story before you start bringing other stuff into it. I respect people. Okay, for example, John Moxley can do both. I respect him for it. I wasn't gonna do it, but I can respect him for it. So it's really telling, And is it the fault of the people who are good at it? No. It's the fault of the morons who see it and think that's all there is to it. And I hate that. That's why, like I said, that's why I don't like it. Don't give me that. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to deal with it. Just, you suck. Quit trying. Go somewhere else. And then what do? They go work on Ian Rotten's shows.
Yeah, and I would think, like, too, like, the thing you see with a lot of those guys is, like, they don't have their opponent's safety in mind a lot of time, and you see a lot of dumb stuff. And like when you watch, like, especially in these, but in general, like when you watch Sabu work, like I think I said, like, I think Sabu was a bigger danger to himself than his opponent. when he was in the ring.
He might be. Just
Because I didn't see anything in this that I would consider Liberty-ish. And I mean, there's some leeway for that stuff, but he didn't seem like he stiffed anyone. He seemed like he had a pretty light touch. Like I said, the chair shots all seemed pretty good.
Yeah. I appreciate seeing people who, when they go for chair shots, they line up and hit them across the back. Because it's like, oh, thank God you're not a moron.
And like even
Yeah, I
his-
wouldn't say.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna
Oh,
say
go ahead.
even his crazy stuff seemed like there was thought put into the crazy stuff he did in these matches.
Yeah, I didn't feel anything he did was like taking liberties. Like none of that at all struck me. And while there was obviously with some of the stuff like there was an element of danger, like it did nothing that he did. I would say even compares to some of the stuff I see nowadays, like taking liberties with people, or you're doing spots that you should not be doing.
Yeah.
Like in deathmatch stuff, we mentioned like GCW. It's like no, like I see stuff that people are doing that are more careless than even like stuff I saw Sabu doing in ECW. Not that ECW is like, you know, it's an A+ for some of the stuff they were doing, but it's like Sabu.
Right.
I felt was a little more savvy and probably protected people more than he gets credit for.
Yeah.
I think he understood basic physics with a lot of the stuff, which a lot of guys
Well, yeah.
now don't get. I think it makes a big
Yeah.
difference. Like I said, when we talked about him throwing like the chair in someone's face, he always did it like flat. Whereas now a guy would
Yeah.
probably like throw it at you all jank and like break your face.
Yeah. There's I highlighted like three tweets that I saw that I think really kind of do sell the point. Like again, the term legend has been overused. I mean, people use it, and I don't feel they're even using it ironically. It's like you're bastardizing the term, but it's like
It's just the thing you say now.
someone like Liv Morgan will do like the most basic spot and be like, "Oh my God, legend!" And it's like, I don't even hate Liv Morgan, but let's be real.
I hate your
Yeah.
hyperbole.
Liv
here.
Morgan will be someone that's just a name on a title reign thing in 10 years that no
Yeah.
one will remember. So, like,
Joe Gagne had a tweet that said, if you want to know the seismic wave Sabu made in 1994, he came in second in the Wrestler Observer Newsletter Awards for Wrestler of the Year.
Oh wow!
And most outstanding, he was a wrestler who really went everywhere and really as singular a performer as there ever was. And in 1994, Wrestler of the Year was Toshiaki Kawada.
I could
So that's
see
like
it,
the
though.
level.
I could see it though. If you think about the landscape of like 93 and 94, like think about like what the big two looked like at the time in wrestling in general. And then you have this crazy dude like coming to your town and doing all this crazy shit you've never seen before. Like,
Yeah.
I could see why he would like, I could see why he would be number two in the one thing, because like I said, like, could you imagine in 94 seeing like some of that shit? Like it would blow your brains like right out
absolutely.
the back of your head.
Yeah.
In 19, because he posted in 94 Wrestler of the Year Kawada, number 2 Sabu, number 3 Ric Flair.
Wow.
He and Sabu had like 300 more votes than Flair. Most outstanding wrestler of the year, Sabu was also number 2. Number 1 Kobashi, Kenta Kobashi. Sabu number 3 Voldemort. But I mean,
yeah.
he was good at his time. But
Yeah.
that's one I highlighted. And these other two, I actually really, really agree with. Well, actually, it's this comment that Rob Viper, who's a really good follow on Twitter, but he was commenting on someone that Jimbo Saruta who I don't know if I followed Jimbo,
I know the name.
but
He must be a message board
he
guy because I know that name.
I think he is because he's had some good stuff. But Jimbo had said Sabu is probably the driving force behind the tape trading boom, and indirectly the reason many of us are friends. And Rob
Oh.
Viper commented, "Seems like a ridiculous tweet, but as someone who lived, I agree. Who lived it, I agree 100%. The second thing I did when I got the internet was search out people selling, trading wrestling tapes. You'd write to them and either become buddies or end up directed from their tape pages to others." And that I feel like is underrated because I'm not going to 100% credit Sabu with this, but Sabu is one of probably a short list of people that back in the tape trading days, you would be like, I want to see a bunch of this guy's matches, and you would connect with people in the late 90s, early 2000s, connect with people, be like, yo man, like I want ECW, I want Sabu, I want to see Sabu at FMW, which he did a lot in FMW. And you would connect with people, and I mean, there are people like, people you would meet through message boards or whatever
I mean,
that you
that's how
still
we
would be in
met.
contact with, or you're friends with. Yeah, exactly. So it's not, you can't like undersell it. Like people like Sabu, like when you talk about him as a legend, this is part of that. It's not just like, oh, he did an innovative style. It's like he was at the moment of time when the business was changing and changing in other ways that you couldn't even anticipate. One of them being now there's a whole thing like VHS tape trading eventually would turn into DVDs, but that would expose the business itself, but also certain people like Sabu, Rob Van Dam, other people, and get them hooked on things. And you would have this whole network of fans that would connect, tape trade with each other, form friendships, relationships, etc. None other than Tony Khan, who would eventually go to become the second most successful wrestling company of all time in AEW. Was an ECW like fanboy back in the day. There's pictures of him at ECW shows. Like, do you think Tony Khan was a fan of Sabu? Likely. They're going to be doing over the summer. They're going to be doing a residency in Philadelphia. You think he's going to do one of those shows as a tribute to Sabu? Probably.
Yeah. Brian Last is at those ECW shows. He talks about that all the time. There's a lot of those guys that talk about it. And I mean, I think that's something that's kind of lost with like people on Reddit or even like Twitter and stuff. Like I don't think they realize like there like some of us, even if like we're not like directly friends, but like in the circles we know of each other. But like there's some of us that go back 25, 30 years now, like you guys, like Canadian Justin. It's what I call him because my best friend's named Justin. But Justin, other Brad, like Loss, Alan.
Yeah.
Go way back with Alan. Like even Bix, like you go way back with Dylan Hales. Like Phil Snyder. Like I've been on stuff with Phil Snyder for decades.
Tony Khan
I used to have slap fights with Phil Snyder about like Japanese wrestling, like in the aughts.
Tony Khan it's the second year in a row, but Tony Khan is I think I don't know if he's funding it, but he's certainly throwing AEW talent. The second year in a row tribute to Dean Rasmussen, who was big on the Death Valley Driver review board,
and a reviewer in
message board.
EWR.
Yeah. Yes. And Tony Khan is like having AEW talent like appear on the show. Like again, people who are well connected. And to that credit, the third tweet that I highlighted was from Rob Naylor, another guy who's been around forever and has been part of that whole circle. At one point was employed by the WWE.
Yeah, he was an NXT ring announcer, I think.
NXT, like I think he was even like before it was NXT, like Florida
FCW.
or FCW. Yeah, with worked like hand in hand with Dusty
Yeah, he
Rhodes,
talks
sorry.
about if you have if he's on podcast, he he talks about working with Dusty.
And Rob has been around a long time. Rob's a good guy. Like really
I
interesting
had
to
this
hear him
real
talk.
I had this real old person moment where I knew I was old. So he does a show with Lost and Chris Zellner, where they go over WCW, and they had this side conversation. And he was talking about the pills he was on, and Zellner's like, "Oh, I got an organizer for my pills." And I'm like, "Dear God, we're fucking old." Because I'm pretty lucky. Like for my.
It's that age.
I mean, 44 is not that old, but I'm pretty lucky, like compared to a lot of people I know, because I'm only on like an antidepressant. Like I don't have to take anything for blood pressure. I don't have to take any of that stuff. But like, but they were having that conversation like, oh man, like this is old people stuff. And they're a couple years older than me, but I think Zellner and Naylor are only like in their mid to late 40s. Like later mid 40s. I'm in my early mid 40s.
But Naylor had a tweet that said, Sabu changed the way I looked at wrestling in the 90s. A total before and after type deal. So many tapes were purchased, ECW TV or Sabu compilations, of which there were tons. Seeing him versus Cactus live in '94 too, just amazing memories. So maybe I'm not assuming that was the Desert death match. So maybe Cactus and Sabu were having a feud in '94.
No, there were some ECW matches on there. I picked the Desert. I picked the Desert death match just because it looked interesting.
He posts some. He posts like 4 VHS tapes he had, and one of them was a best of Sabu, volume 6. So there was must have been a lot of stuff.
I wonder if IVP has a best. I wonder if IVP has a Sabu Blu-ray.
Oh, I bet. Do, yeah. Let me actually look real quick.
I don't know if I'd want to watch it best of. Like I came away with this with a much greater appreciation for Sabu, but he has that problem of like the barbed wire match. Like I'm just not into that like style of stuff, and I'm glad that was low quality, but like I still was like, God damn it, this is the match I didn't want.
Yeah,
I should have done my homework.
Yeah, better. I was very uncomfortable through that whole thing.
He was intense too, because I mean there was that, and then there was also the infamous where he like basically broke his jaw and just had to like.
That was the Sandman match I got it confused with, because that was like some. Was that like a? What was that called? Like, it wasn't 3 Stages of Hell. It was like something like that though. But I don't remember what that was called. But that's what I got it confused with, was the jawbreak match, I think. We had to Jacob Marley himself. But yeah, it's not my style, but like I said, I mean, I usually have a greater appreciation for the guys we do, but like with Sabu, I was like, oh, like I was impressed with the quality of like his technical prowess.
Yeah, it's interesting to have to go back and reassess your opinion of somebody, and this was one of those cases for me. It's like, oh, wow, okay. Well, now I have to change my opinion on this.
Because especially the Waltman match, I really thought the limb work was very thoughtful and well executed in that match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, indie fans should watch that.
It's kind of like what happened with Darby is everybody. Darby is a very capable mat wrestler, but all anybody wanted to see was him doing reckless stuff. So it's what he has. It's what he does, and it's what he's known for. And you kind of get stuck with that particular thing.
But even Darby, though, is the same in that he still has the foundational structure of being a good wrestler to begin with. And I've seen him live, and I truly believe that Darby is not like there's something about the way Darby moves and bumps that I don't think I don't think it's good for him, but I think he's not taking the amount of damage that a lot of other people would do. Because if you watch Darby, he's very graceful, but he's very fluid in all of his movements and stuff. And once I saw him live a couple times, I was like, I think this motherfucker just has some ability to not take a lot of damage doing this stuff. And you can't explain it until you see him live, but like when you start like breaking down his movements, it like he's different. He's very different in how he moves.
Yeah.
So there is, I mean, I'm not a physicist, but there are lessons with biology and physics that sometimes there are ways that you can take something like a bump or whatever, that if you take it the right way, you kind of disperse the impact so that you're not getting injured, or it doesn't even really hurt like it should, or you think it does, or visually it looks like it is.
Yeah.
I mean, just Chad, you know this, like the basic premise. It's like take a flat back bump.
Yeah.
And it's like it could look like it hurts like hell, but if you're taking a flat back bump, tuck your chin in so you don't concuss yourself. But the impact is like, yeah, the impact is like spread out across like your back. It's like your torso and everything. It's like, well, it's all dispersed, so it's actually not going to be as bad as you think it is.
And you want to get your arms into it as well. The
Yeah.
thing that I discovered is that if you bump the way that everybody talks about it, I didn't like that because it would screw with my elbows. So whenever I would bump, I was not slapping my arms out. I would bump elbows out, but I was not fully extending for it. Because, like I said, that it was not good for my elbows to do that. I was one of the few people who wore elbow pads. And it just, number one, I thought it looked better, and then for me. And then number two, it was, it just kind of went with how I worked. So, but yeah, you're trying to spread it out. You don't want to hunch in and make it all small. Spread it out, relax, keep your chin tucked. That way the muscles aren't all constricted and it does more damage that way.
I also think certain people are just built to do that better. Like I always talk about, I say it as a joke, but like if you watch like Hushin Thunder Liger, he wrestled forever and he stayed pretty good. But if you break him down by his body, like I say it as a joke, but it's kind of true. Like he has some junk in the trunk. Like he's very like bottom heavy, and I've always theorized that he lasted so long because he's got so much in his like butt and hips and like lower legs. So when he bumped, he was taking that all and like that. And I think Foley's always said like he had like this flat, wide butt that helped him. But on the other hand, though, if you look at someone like Alexa Bliss, who I think her body isn't, I'm not body shaming when I say this, but the way she built her body was more as like a bodybuilder, like,
Yeah.
Well,
and
I think
she's
her
very-
background was as like a
Yeah, she
fitness
was-
model.
yeah.
Yeah, she was a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
So she has the wrong muscle. She's built the wrong muscle type for that. But she's also very small. Like I would also say that's a big problem. Is she's very small, which I think
This edges into like why is CM Punk, like especially now, like he's in his 40s, like injured frequently, because he lacks a lot of the athleticism. Some people, they can get in really good shape, but there's like an athleticism component to it. I think
he's one of the least.
that's the thing with Alexa
athletic
Bliss.
guys
Like
I've
Alexa
ever
Bliss,
seen.
yeah, Alexa Bliss was like a fitness model. Like she was in good shape, but she's very petite. So
And she's
someone. It's like
she's never quite got rid of them. Like we've talked about it before, but not all muscles are built the same. So if like you're built for like what she did, I call them show muscles. Like when like bodybuilders have show muscles. Like when you watch like a UFC fighter has muscles, like muscles to work and fight. Like they don't have show muscles. And part of the problem I think with WWE is they want show muscles, but show muscles don't work for wrestling because show muscles are very stiff. They don't have a lot of give to them. They tear very easy. Like, I know one of those times because when I worked if you see a picture of me from 15 years ago when I was working in warehouses, I look very different. Like my arms way bigger, my neck's way bigger. And one of the times I lost weight, like I shed a lot of that warehouse stuff to a much leaner muscle structure. But I think that's part of Alexa's problem though, is she's never, because I think their training makes this harder, but she's never shed those stiffer show muscles for working muscles.
Yeah. Well, to take it to the male side, someone like Orange Cassidy, like, is not big. He's not a big guy, but that dude is like in ridiculous shape. And I know Brad, you and I have seen like in his Jakar days, like we've seen him like basically scale a pole,
I
like
watched him on
freestyle.
I watched him on the Floor is Lava, and he didn't win, but he made that course look like a joke with his agility. Like he was just like
Yeah.
hop hop.
And that's a guy that it's like I don't believe like that guy takes supplements or anything like that. That's a guy who is like it's
He
the
just
real muscle. It's like
he
He's
just
it's
lean. Yeah.
he just
yeah,
born
it's
that way.
it's the real athletic physique. Like, and he's a smaller guy because he has a realistic physique. He's not.
Yeah.
He's never going to be the guy that he's. He's Brian Cage.
Yeah, because they asked.
Or John Cena or something. Like, it's not the show muscle, whatever. He's a smaller guy, but it's like that's a guy who is he'll be probably like 60 years old and he will outwork you in the gym.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he's just like, it's a different type of thing.
I remember they asked Sean Waltman once if he took steroids. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I tried them. They didn't do a damn thing for me." And I'm like, "Yep, that's genetics for you."
Yeah. Well, that genetics are weird. And you got to take it back to pro wrestling. That's the same type of thing that like someone like Harley Race. Harley Race always amuses me because Harley Race is a guy that the entirety of his career had a beer gut. He basically looked like if no one knew he was a wrestler, like he just walked in off the street, you would think like that guy's like a truck driver, whatever, blue collar working class guy, whatever.
He did,
and
but he did
that,
he did give off the vibe of problem, even if he was a truck driver.
well, in real life, that guy could tune you up, like put him in a bar fight. Like that guy's walking out like having messed up the entire bar, but he's also a guy that probably like he could go out there and be like, I got to work like a 60-minute match because his cardio was probably like insane.
Yeah, and
and that's a dude who smoked like a chimney, like drank.
And he wasn't
beer
smoking,
gut, whatever. Genetics are weird because that's the dude. It's like
he wasn't smoking like he was smoking like the most disgusting, like unfiltered shit you could find too. He's probably like
Pall Mall
yeah,
and
that's what I was gonna
filters.
say.
Like,
Newports.
Yeah.
Like I remember that story you told about they played that prank on him where like he had a sweet tooth and they put like the gross Jelly Bellies in there and he's just eating them and they're like,
sold it.
Yeah.
Well, I like them.
And and I mean, I still think it's disgusting because it's such an old man candy. But he liked his black licorice.
Ooh.
Oh.
Because it's like he was just downing coffee and cigarettes, and that's like the only thing he could still taste in life was that god awful black licorice. It's the worst. And what is it? What is that terrible candy that's black licorice? Is it Good and Plenty's?
Yep.
Ugh.
Mike and Ike's.
No, Mike and Ike's are fruit. I think it's Good and Plenty's the bad one.
Yeah.
Ugh, black licorice is an
Just can't do
abomination.
it.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
That's something like when I was a kid, like grandfathers.
Yeah.
ate.
Just can't do it.
Yeah. Blech. Well, I think that is it for this week. I think I might throw the Cena Sabu match on for next week so we can look at that. I should have put that on there. Might throw that on as like a little bonus bit for next week, depending on what we do.
All right.
I'm interested now. I'm interested. I know I saw it live, but I haven't seen that match in probably close to 20 years now.
That was one of those matches in a time when I was not paying much attention.
Yeah, I wasn't paying great attention then either. I wasn't as and even when I did watch, I wasn't like as invested as I've been in other eras of my life. But that is it for this week. Thank you for watching as always. This is Matt, Shad, and Brad in 4Corners, and you're in the fourth. So we will see you next time.